Hello everyone, I'm jumping in because today is Money Mindset Monday, and today what I'll be talking about is persistence, which is so ironic because this is the second time that I have sat down to do this live. Funny enough. The reason why persistence is so important is because it's actually shown to be one of the biggest indicators for success. So when you look at the study that was sort of the inspiration for the quiz that I made, and that study was by Barbara O'Neill, and let's see if I can pronounce it correctly, Zhao, perhaps. The study was through Rhode Island University, and that was in looking into the characteristics and personality traits that will assist with financial resilience and building wealth. So all of those factors were considered, and persistence was one of the key characteristics that was shown to assist in building wealth. So what we have here in building wealth, I have found to be super relevant when it comes to business. So let me give you an example. In my financial planning business, I definitely had to pull out the old persistence card because one of the main things that happened when I started was we actually needed to make an arrangement with a loan and make sure that we were covering those costs before the business income started to flow in. And the loan that I had was sort of an in-person arrangement. It was a little bit different to your standard loan. So I would sit down and I would go through all of the numbers and do the checking to see how I was going against paying off that loan, because I don't like owing money necessarily. So what I found was it actually took a lot longer than I'd hoped. When I'd sit down to do those numbers, I would think back over, all of the clients that I'd been working with and the progress I'd been making. So a lot of the time I'd sit down and I'd be a bit optimistic about what I was going to find, and then I would look at the expenses and look at the actual repayment schedule on the loan, and sadly I wasn't paying off that loan nearly as quickly as I was hoping. And that moment in itself was actually quite disheartening, I suppose. At the time I'd sit down with some excitement and some enthusiasm, go through the numbers, and then I'd end up feeling a bit disheartened and disillusioned and frustrated at just how long it was taking to pay off that loan. But I really do rely on persistence there, because I came back to, I had a very strong belief that all I needed to do was keep persisting, keep being helpful, and focus on the values and what was most important to me. So when it came to having compassion for my clients, getting up, being persistent, and having the connection, making a contribution, and being honest and respectful with clients, all of those things were really important to me. And it was important to how I conducted myself during the day. So I would focus on all of those things, and also sometimes in moments of struggle, I would look to a TEDx talk done by Diana Nyad, and I'll share the details in a comment below. But Diana is such an amazing person. She's an amazing speaker. She actually swam the English Channel after, I think, 3 attempts, and she was 64 by the time she did it, and her story is just one of pure perseverance, self-belief, overcoming troubles, and having resilience was just absolutely amazing. So I think when it comes to being in business, we can all relate to this, because there can be marketers out there, or even people sharing stories of overnight success, and a lot of the time there is a lot more that goes into it than actually just waking up one morning and being successful. It requires persistence and effort and consistency and showing up for people on a regular basis in order to do well. Another way that I developed my persistence muscle was actually based on seeing that modeled for me and that becoming part of my money story growing up. So I actually grew up in a single parent household, and we had, expenses to cover, and I lived with my father from around the age of 10. But what happened was he had a financial shock outside of his control, and it actually resulted in him having to go and refinance the home. So he went to the bank. It was a bit different in a small town in the 80s, and the bank manager went through everything with him, and he did give him the loan and give him the extra funds that he needed to get through. But the bank manager said to him, "I've got to be honest, I don't see you keeping the family home. I think that you're going to really struggle and you're going to be put in a position where you have to sell the home." So I'm very fortunate that my father at that point, he really dug in. He dug in deep, and he did everything he needed to do to manage the family finances well, to keep money coming in and to keep us fed and a roof over our heads. So I saw that, I felt that, I understood it, I was there. We'd be shopping at St Vinny's or Home Depot, it's called in some places. We went to all of the cheap places. We were very careful what we bought at the supermarket. We had a car that my dad was working on constantly to keep it going, and it's amazing. It's actually still going today. But we had experiences where eventually my dad would get enough money together where we might actually be able to have a trip out of town, and we'd get further out the road and the car would overheat, and the fear that it might actually completely fail and we'd be without a car was real. So we had to turn around and go home. So there was no family trip out. Those events did happen, but what ultimately happened was my father pushed through. He had that persistence. He looked after his family, which would be a very strong motivator, and over time things loosened up. He was able to, there was a government payment for single parent pensions or something like that at the time. He was able to save that up, and I remember when he put that towards an Apple computer, one of the first ones that were available at the time. The screen was tiny, it was smaller than an iPad, and a big white box behind it. But, over time, loans were paid off and things were able to improve. So I think when you've lived through it, you gain a greater understanding. And so absolutely, I have lived and experienced that myself. And then, if we get back to the business, I see what happens a lot of the time. And again, I've experienced is that you can hold yourself back. Sometimes that persistence is involved in having maybe sales calls that make you feel really uncomfortable, stepping out of your comfort zone, going live on Facebook, having online conversations, putting yourself out there, facing the fear of rejection. All of those sorts of things can mean that you just need to be persistent in order to overcome those challenges, to overcome money blocks and anything else that might be holding you back. But absolutely, consistency and persistence pays off in business for sure. And it's one of the keys, that when it comes to creating content, same thing, is showing up consistently. So the other thing that can help is adding passion into the mix. And when you add persistence and you're very passionate about what you do, that's grit. And that's what gives you the motivation and the stamina to keep going. And studies have shown that grit will produce more success than good looks, than intelligence, than emotional intelligence. They're knowing the right people. That's what it comes down to, is grit. Is oftentimes the biggest predictor of positive outcomes. So now that I've said how great persistence is, I just want to throw in a word of caution as well, because as someone who has a lot of experience in using that, I'd say sometimes it can be overused. So you need to really approach it with some honesty and some wisdom there. I ended up, let's say 14 years ago, I got myself into a situation where persistence was not the answer. And that's how I got into meditation and having a more balanced outlook on life, and approaching things with a little bit more wisdom. So definitely lessons learnt there. But it's also about being honest. So if you are being super persistent in creating great images in Canva for Instagram, you might be applying that muscle, but are you applying it to where you really need to? Maybe you need to apply it in putting yourself out there to have those conversations with potential clients, and raising your profile in other ways. And it's often required that you need to fail in order to succeed. A lot of people will argue there's no such thing as an overnight success. And so what I'll do is I'll finish up now, but I'll just leave a few comments. Obviously there's still the quiz. If you haven't taken that, I'll put that in the comments below. But also I do offer 15-minute quick consults just to give you the quick wins. That's not a sales consult, that's more of a getting to know each other and let's see if I can help you and how you need help. So that's just a quick 15-minute consult. And also just to keep your eyes and ears soon, because I'll be talking about making confident sales, because it's really quite a process. You need to have the sales, you need to focus on profit, then it's managing the profit within your business, then it's building wealth. There's quite some steps to go through to get you to financial freedom, but often it's all about stepping stones. And I remember sales was really a big issue for me to overcome. And I don't even really like the word sales. It's more about helping people and exchanging energy through payment for services. So that's my approach, but stay tuned for that. So what I'll do is I'll leave you with the quote that Diana Nyad referred to, which I found quite inspiring, which was, when you achieve your dreams, it's not so much what you get, but who you become in achieving those dreams. I believe that is absolutely true. I applied that with building wealth as well. It's absolutely about what you want to achieve with it, having a more fulfilling life, achieving that the financial well-being if you want to help people, using it to help people and having a fulfilling life. So that's my hope for you, and I'd absolutely love to help you get there. So that's all for me today, and yes, I hope you have a fantastic week. I wish you all the very best, and let's keep working together. Take care. Bye.